we played in this, European ashtray, and we were playing against a side that were sort of made up of builders and carpenters, and he ended up scoring like 4 tries. And the most embarrassing thing was actually him celebrating those 4 tries as if it was the World Cup final. And I was like, mate, come on. We're winning by 90 points. That's actually a little bit easy now. Let's just be humble, be humble, walk back. And no, but we've got to celebrate these. I'm like, no, mate, we don't. This is too much.
He came on here and told us that those 4 tries were against the All Blacks as well.
Of course he did. He knows how to tell a story.
This week's Offload episode is brought to you by Irwin Mitchell, the official legal partner of England Rugby, supporting the England team throughout the Six Nations. The Irwin Mitchell Mentoring Club is supporting grassroots rugby by developing a community of mentors to help 35,000 young players navigate life's ups and downs, giving them the opportunity to develop both on and off the field. If you could inspire the next generation, search for the Irwin Mitchell Mentoring Club on Facebook to join them and make a positive difference to local clubs and their communities. Welcome to the Offload Pod with Ryan and Max, as always. Later on, we'll be joined by England legend and now French rugby agent Jamie Noon to analyse the Six Nations and his career. First things first, how are we doing, boys?
Very well, very well. Maxie boy, good to have you back.
All good, gentlemen. Yeah, lovely weekend. How are we all?
Freddie stepped in quite nicely, didn't he?
But I'm not even a little bit surprised. Man's full of it. He's awesome.
Yeah, he does run away with it. Although the man that's meant to step in, he didn't really know much of what was going on or of what we've ever done before. So he pretended he listened to the pod. He didn't at all. So he'll have to change that. I'm just looking. I've won my first race, boys, at Cheltenham. Max, you're going on Friday, aren't you?
Yeah, I might have to have a sniff, a little gander around the spot. I've had a good last two years there. It's been fun. I think last year was the one that catalyzed COVID apocalypse. Yeah,
it was. You're right. It was there. It all kicked off, didn't it? Everyone was going mad. Really so it shouldn't have been going ahead. Bloody hell, was that? No, hold on. Was that last year?
No, that was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, was that not 2 years ago? How scary is that?
Yeah, that went.
How scary is that, boys? That was quick. 2 years ago. How quick is that all
gone?
Gone
Quickly, yeah.
Oh, mate, it's crazy. Surely you got to dress up. You got to dress up for it. What's the attire for Friday? Is there an agenda?
No, I'll probably just go with like nice chinos, the blue blazer.
Maybe I thought you boys would have
the buttons down to the heavage.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the popper shirt. He's going with the popper shirt, is he? I thought you boys would have had to have like you're not going as a team.
No, I think because some of the boys have got a game this weekend and stuff. So unlucky for you.
So who's in? Who are the A-listers?
I think it's a very small group this year. Last year, but last time it was big. Like wow, it was excellent. And then the year before that was a Bath, and that was also excellent. Yeah, the real goers, the pros, the ones who were zealous on those pilgrimages of the goo were always on outstanding top form in those kind of environments.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Right. That's your habitat, isn't it? Place like that.
Mate, I'm telling you. And you know what? I got a text from the guy that is running the Guinness Village down there saying, mate, you coming along and popping to see me? And I was like, oh, please come.
Oh, God bless. I'd love it, please.
Honestly, what can I do to get out of rugby this weekend? Friday night game. It ends on Friday as well, doesn't it? It doesn't even roll into the weekends. So how inconvenient. But oh well, you make it up for me, Max. Check some bets on for me. I'll give you some tips.
I'm actually going to message you for the tips. Yeah.
Max, how are you doing? How's your injury getting on?
It's getting there. Slow. It's just calves. You just got to wait for them. Significant enough though. Aspirated a fair bit of fluid out of the old boy, but he's getting there.
It hasn't stopped you in the gym though, has it? You bloody love it.
I get to just hit up the uppers, the mammary glands and the arms. Wonderful times.
You ever worry about getting too big?
Not really. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing like one meal a day because obviously my calorie expenditure at the moment would be down because I'm not training. So I'm stripping it back.
Oh, yeah?
Stripping it right back. Sins and styrations for days, boys.
So what? You only eat once a day? That's it at the moment?
Yeah, pretty much. I'll have like a few little bits and bobs, but other than that, it will only be one big feeding window. Oh, also, I got to commentate on Sunday for the game against Harlequins. We sadly lost, but I did have a lot of fun with Rupert Cox, articulating the great game. God, I'm trying so hard to like stop getting too like weird and theatrical. I'm like, hold it back, hold yourself back here, temper yourself. You need to give people technical insight into the game. And I'm just thinking of similes I can throw at this situation.
Oh mate, if I had known that, I would have watched it.
Yeah,
what ridiculous simile can I throw here? But yeah, it's a bit fun. It was fun.
Would you be up for that? Doing a bit more of that?
Yeah. It's always quite good fun. It definitely takes some practice, though, doesn't it? You, like being able to on the spot just say something interesting or humorous is definitely a skill set. But yeah, really good fun. I really enjoy it.
Right, well, let's kick off with a bit of the old Six Nations. Treated some incredible rugby at the weekend. Ryan, let's start with you. How scared were you for the lads that you were going to become the first team in 7 years to lose to the Italians?
Not at all. Like, I don't even know why that's like. I was not scared at all. Have you seen Italy recently? Yeah, they might have had a little comeback at the end, but there was nothing to worry about there. There was nothing to worry about there. Too much talent there with the boys. So yeah, no, not worried at all. And the boys went over and, well, they got the win. That's all that matters. And a bonus point win at that.
It brings us on to the next one. 4 weeks ago, you predicted a Scotland Grand Slam fixture this weekend in Dublin.
Probably. I probably did that one a little bit too early, you know? I was a bit premature with that with that prediction. A little bit premature after the first game. I didn't predict it. I just said this is how it could pan out. And it didn't quite go the way I expected.
We just need to beat all the teams and then come to this weekend and it will be a Grand Slam decider.
Yeah, exactly. It was as easy as that.
Max, Scotland heading to the Aviva this weekend. What do you think they will have learned from England's performance against them in terms of particularly Ireland's weaknesses, if any?
Not much, man. That's like, despite the sweet chariot being very sweet, just with the 14 men, Ireland weathered it very well. That sort of emotional intensity that they brought with the 14 men and Twickenham in full raucousness. I think, yeah, Ireland looked very, very dangerous still. It's going to be difficult. And anything from that scrum, they'll just scrutinise any weaknesses they had there. And it was really a technical thing. I think it was just, they'll sort that out by the time they play Scotland. And I think it'll be a very difficult match for them.
Yeah. And it's Paddy's Day.
And yes, St. Patrick's could get gory.
A quick prediction for that match, boys?
What do you got? I reckon they're scoring a lot of points. I'm saying they're going to go like 36-15.
Can I just not answer this one?
I think 36-15. They're purring. They'll take a lot from that game, even though it was 14 men. I think they'll be like, yeah, they were on flames and we still did them with the bonus point.
Do you know what? I'm going with my heart. I'm not going to go with my head. I'm going with my heart. And I'm going to go, oh, God, if we just hang on and defend well, and maybe they get a red card.
But they're the ones that seem to be getting the cards.
Is it just the things to hope for? Just a cheeky red card.
Right, tell you what, boys, it's going to be bloody tough. Going over there, like I said, on Paddy's Day. Oh, it's going to be bloody tough. It's going to be bloody tough. But I'm going to go, let's go. Let's just hope that we defend like you wouldn't believe, like our lives depended on it. 13-12.
Oh, wow. I appreciate your patriotism.
We're delighted to be joined on the podcast today by ex-England and Newcastle legend, Jamie Noon. Jamie, joining us live from Brive. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
What's been the crack in Brive? How long have you been there for?
I've been here, 12 years now. So since 2009. So I left Newcastle to come to Brive, and I played 4 years at Brive, and then we just settled and went with it.
Very nice. I think we'd all like to be. What looks even nicer today? Weather always quite nice.
Well, not always. No, not always. We've had.
I've seen the Corrèze, isn't it? Sorry, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not actually as south as you might think.
Yeah. No, but we have good weather. To be honest, we have quite good weather. Obviously, summer's quite hot, but then we do have cold days and wet days like you guys have in England regularly.
Jamie, what do you miss most about living in England, and what do you love most about living in France?
Predominantly it's stuff that I've grown up with. So it's food. So there's certain foods that you don't necessarily get here.
Proper bacon sandwich?
No, like scones, stuff like scones and sausages. So sausages over here are a bit different. So
saucissons and stuff.
Yeah, it's just different, like merguez and stuff like that. They don't have the same style. I like bitter. I'm a bitter man. So when my parents come, they come regularly in the summer, and they come in a camper van and they bring crates of bitter for me and Yorkshire tea. Yeah, Yorkshire tea as well. So I'm not a big fan of the tea. It's not strong enough, the tea over here for me. So we try and get imported Yorkshire tea as and when we can.
Is it going to be weird that your kids will end up supporting France as well?
Well, they don't. At the moment, they don't. So we've sort of said, well, I don't know. I think they have a hard time with it, to be honest, in school, leading up to games and also after games. So this is in their sort of school calendar is quite a difficult period, because if we win, then they're okay for a bit. They'll still get, a bit of banter before and then probably a little bit of banter after, but they kind of get away with it. It gets hushed under the carpet. But if we lose, the English lose, then it's a tough period for them, because the Frenchies, they like to rub it in.
Big weekend this weekend then.
It is. So we're going into it with real confidence, and on the back of some magnificent performances as well. So we should be okay.
Yeah, and none of the kids listen, they're about to win the Grand Slam. I might just jump on board with it, Dad. Do you mind?
Well, we don't talk about it. I've sort of asked so my eldest plays rugby, and I've asked him, or a lot of the friends, I suppose, in the village have asked him, which team are you going to play for when you grow up? Are you going to play for England or France? But he's always said England. So I think they see themselves still as English. So I suppose they're supporters of England. I've said, for me, obviously having played for England, that will always be my go-to. I can support France definitely playing against Scotland or Wales, but for the English game, I'm always going to be English.
Get them to support both. That's what I've done my whole life. Right, let's take you back to that Cardiff under the lights on Friday night. France keeping those Grand Slam hopes alive. Bit of a nervy victory over Wales. Ryan, were you a bit surprised how close that match was?
Yeah, I was. I'll be honest. Not no disrespect to the Welsh, but yeah, I was surprised because they've just managed to grind it out, haven't they? But that's the thing with the Welsh. Again, like we said at the beginning, didn't we? Of everyone bagging them right at the beginning of this tournament, saying, they're not been firing. But a weird thing happens to Wales when they pull that national jersey on, and they did it again. Like the French weren't firing on all cylinders as they normally have been, but yeah, they managed to stick in there, didn't they? And Bigger had a good game. But yeah, I actually was quite surprised how well they did. I was more surprised at how they didn't even fill the stadium up. What's going on there? See that? There was a lot of seats. Is that the Welsh people just saying, we haven't got a hope in hell against these boys? Or did they think the same as me?
Well, maybe it was just the petrol prices to get to the stadium. They've gone so crazy. They're just like, we can't afford a ticket now.
They don't have cars in the valleys, do they?
Yeah. No, I think for me, the game itself was marred by, not marred, but was so close because of the kicking. Both sides kicked the leather out of it in that first sort of half. And I think there was a period where France had the ball and moved the ball around, and they looked impressive. I thought they looked, as good as they had previous. They scored a great try. I said, well, why don't they just keep doing that? They didn't look in any danger at all. I thought Wales kept the ball well, they moved the ball quite well, but didn't didn't necessarily have that threat to sort of get over the gain line. The French side at the moment are very organised. They're very structured. Their defence, obviously, with Sean's very good. And in the breakdown, they were a real handful. They've got Marchand, they've got Dante, they've got Cyril Bay as well, who's really good over the ball. And if you get slightly isolated, they nick it from you. But they just didn't capitalise. I didn't feel like I felt a little bit like they were tentative. The pressure was getting to them. They didn't want to. Both sides didn't want to play to win initially. They're playing not to lose. They didn't want to take too many risks, which is why they kicked the ball so much.
Yeah, that was what it looked like. As you said, they were happy to just kick the ball, give it to Wales, and then make a mistake, because maybe that was their chat. Because like you said, with the jackling threats they've got, some of those boys over ball are just incredible. So that was it. Welsh, they tried to run it now and then, and they didn't look that organised when they tried to have a crack. And suddenly, French turn it over. But France were just happy to just keep putting it over, put it in their half. So I hope they don't do the same this weekend. It could be
at home. They're different. They're a different animal. They're a different animal at home, and they will be under pressure. Be interesting to see how they handle that pressure, because this is the first time they've been in a Grand Slam contention game for a long, long time. It's against the old enemy, England, but then England are coming with with nothing to lose. Will they play? I mean, that's something that will they play for 60, 70 and then blow up? Because the last week's game was attritional, was physically draining. It's going to be difficult to do the same again, even with 15 on the field. So it's going to be an interesting game, and I hope that both sides attack it and really go and go out and win and try and win on with style. I think French would be awesome for them to get the Grand Slam, but in a manner that's very French. Moving the ball around, people coming on at pace. They had lots of lures, they had lots of options, they had some grunt up front. With Willemse taking the ball on. They've got some quality players in there. And across the board, it'd be great to see them all sort of firing on all cylinders and not sort of bow to the pressure of the big game.
Yeah, try not to lose it. That's what you're worried they go in and try and not to lose the game rather than get out there and absolutely batter them, which I think they can do against this English team.
I mean, Sean there as well. Sorry, with Sean there, he's really experienced in these situations. So hopefully his experience will be able to, they'll be able to draw on that and get the best from each other to get the job done. They're so close. It'd be a shame for them to fall at the final hurdle. Although, like I say, it's quite nice for our family in France for a bit.
Max, what do you think England have to do to upset that Parisian party?
Oh man, it's just I thought Wales did it. Like Jamie said, though, I think they looked a bit tentative against Wales. If you saw like Nabili and Faletau and stuff getting into them, they couldn't quite get on the front foot. When that French metronome starts going, they get that front foot carry. Ball speed goes up, Dupont's picking and go, and it's all chaos. Deal with us. But I thought like the Welsh did really well in like choking and slowing that ball down. The breakdown, their defensive breakdown work, it wasn't getting like steamrolled, and I think that was a big part of why they didn't score so many points. But it's going to have to be similar. Yeah, Mario's got to be on full troll. Guys like Genji's got to sort of repeat that performance up against Winnie Antonio, whoever they put up front. It's going to come down to set piece and breakdown speed, I think. That's what it's all about, and keeping a leash on Dupont. But if guys like Willemse and stuff get on the front foot, and then you've got Dupont coming afterwards, it's so hard. It's so hard to stop. So that's where it's gonna be won.
Predictions for that game, boys? Start with you, Rye.
I'll go France 24, England 18.
24, England 18. I'm close to concurring. That's about right for me as well.
I'm writing this down so I remember.
What, that Max has finally concurred with you?
No, yeah, I actually agree. I think that's about right. That's the sort of margins it's going to be.
Jamie?
I think that might be too high scoring.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a bit more conservative. I think it's going to be, well, I'd like to say it's similar in terms of point difference, but I think it's going to be a little bit lower. I think that I think it's not going to be. I think it's going to be quite tight. It's not going to be, two good defenses. Two, they physically they're fit. Both sides, the French sides in previous years would sort of struggle towards the end of a game, but they're flying now. So I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be 6 points in it, give or take.
Yeah.
You're going with France as well?
Well, no, I'm going to have to go with England just because I'm England.
You look at the way that Ireland, though, when they like Ireland again, I know they only had 40 men, but straight after that maul, they get on the front foot and then they're just picking and going. And once they get that roll on, like Max said, I just don't know if England have what it takes to deal with that at the moment.
Big Courtney Laws up front.
Yeah. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Like, that was some game that the English have just had against Ireland. Like, they'll be battered and bruised this week, won't they? They'll be in pieces. So coming into a game like this, I know, they'll have to get themselves ready. But France, again, didn't have to do too much. They were just kicking that ball and defended pretty well. They didn't hammer away at the Welsh. And I reckon they'll be in a lot better place come Saturday when the game kicks off. So I reckon that has a big factor. And then once the French get behind them, ready for a grand slam, you imagine Dupont when his ears prick up and he starts going, hold on a minute, actually, let's stop kicking. Let's have a crack.
Well, he was very quiet as well for him. And Matt had a quiet one as well. So maybe they're just saving themselves. I mean, I think maybe the fact that it's the last game might help England because they can rest the boys this week. They don't need to do too many system stuff. They don't, probably not going to change massive amount for the French game. So the fact that they did, end themselves last week, they do have a week where they can just relax and recover fully with a view that this is last, the last blast. This is give everything, empty the tank. But this week has got to be about recovery, got to be filling that tank as full as they can so that they can fire into them. They've got nothing to lose. The pressure's not on England at all. Nobody expects them to win. We've lost 2 and we're playing for the wooden spoon. So we don't have anything to lose.
Mm-hmm. But let's quickly touch upon some of the more detail on the England-Ireland game. First things first, how good was it to see the serial dickhead Jarvo 69 finally get properly flattened by a security guard?
So good. So
it was class.
Do you know what made me laugh even more though? There was zero. How did Tom Curry not laugh or even look?
Yeah, he's just
they're bolt upright and he gets absolutely mullered.
Yeah,
how he didn't even turn around and have a little giggle? It would have set.
There must have been some noises as well because he got hit hard and he stayed down. He's holding his gut and there must have been one of those
yeah.
Oh. So how you don't laugh at that? That's respect for the national anthems. Jeez.
It was very, very good to see it. But that's it. Listen, to stop these people getting on the pitch, right? Don't put your standard. Have you seen the nick of some of these security guards?
Some of those geezers with the big blocks on their feet on that grass, they ain't getting anywhere.
They're getting nowhere. So of course people are going to have a go. Of course they are.
By the time they do get there, the anthem's finished anyway.
So swap them out for some serious athletes, and then you get people questioning. Right, do I do this because I'm going to get absolutely mullered here? Do you know what I mean?
I won't choose the rugby game to do it. At least I'll do it tennis or.
Yeah, exactly. So, but now it was funny to see. Very funny to see. What happens to that Jarvo after that? By the way, does he get put in the cell?
Probably gets a ban or something.
Do you get put in the cells for that?
I think that's the issue. He's not actually getting, every time he keeps doing it, he's never actually getting banned. I think we need some sort of lifetime stadium ban like you have at Twickenham, Ryan.
Yeah, I even got banned from this. That's crazy.
Right, let's actually talk about the match. Max, how impressed were you with England's aggression and fight?
Yeah, I mean, they had to, when that happens, your back's up against the wall, isn't it? 80 seconds, you've lost a forward. You've got, it's a red card coming. You could see Courtney Law's reaction when it happened. All you can do is sort of rally and do what you can against a very, very potent Irish team. And that with the backup of the crowd, Twickenham sounded different that game. It sounded amazing. And yeah, it was super impressive to watch. Really enjoyed it. But in the end, it was, Ireland weathered that and came back strong.
The Charlie Ewell's red card, what were the thoughts on that incident?
It is what it is now. I think we all know what happens when you go into a tackle like that. He was high. He's hit Ryan, who's also a long John.
He's a long man.
He's a long man, and he's hit him straight on the shwed. So yeah, nowadays we know what happens there.
Sparkoed him as well.
Yeah, and I don't think he got
and without the ball.
And without the ball. It's gone out the back. Gone out the back to Sexton, and he's just lit him up. He's like, "You're getting it," and yeah, that's
his Six Nations over as well. He's out, isn't he?
He's dust. Yeah.
I
think the orange card is legit here, though.
Yeah,
because then you could just 20 minutes, give that team a good advantage, and then you could put a replacement on.
Yeah, it keeps the game interesting. No,
otherwise
I agree.
the whole game's dust.
It probably wasn't a dirty.
I don't think it was dirty.
Was it? So he's just got the tackle wrong, but guaranteed it was like a red card, wasn't it? And
100%.
The issue is it's right at the beginning of the game. If that was 65 minutes, I don't think anyone's questioning it at all. They're going, yeah, okay, red card because he's pummeled him head to head. But like you said, for moments like that, right at the beginning of the game, you've got to work out how we do it with the amber card stuff. But
like you say, though, I think that everybody's sort of so lenient potentially just because of the timing. It's like, it's going to impact the game so much, but actually, it's bigger than that, isn't it? It's about about player welfare. We talk about safety. We talk about all these things. Just generally, we talk about rules. If there's a penalty early in a game, it doesn't matter if it's early or end of the game. The ref has got to give the penalty because it's a penalty.
Yeah.
So if he sees that within the rules, that's a red card. It's a red card. I think it's not malicious. It's not malicious. It's just it's accidental. It's clumsiness, whatever you call it. But unfortunately, he's not made any attempt to dip to. He's not made a decent technical tackle at all. And nowadays you can't get away with that, can you?
So Nooney, what do you think? He goes off. He's got 20 minutes off, and then you have to bring in a replacement. He can't come back on the field because it's not like we're saying. Fair enough. If he still swatted someone and punched someone, it's malicious. But if it's
that's what I mean,
something like that and not malicious, do you agree with that? It's something we've chatted about.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I sort of like a technicality more so than a dangerous. Maybe, but then where do you draw the line? We're going to have literally a rainbow of cars that come out for different instances and stuff. We didn't mean to bring that Maul down, so we'll only give him a blue card for that one. He can go off for 2 minutes and come back.
I still sticks to the yellow because it's only 10.
Our game's complicated enough, surely, with all the rules and regs that
Also, there's the argument now with the orange that we've talked since we've talked about it. Quite a few people have come up with it on certain social media channels saying, "What stops you just putting your Jamie Cudmore on and just flattening your best player, knowing that he's gone, but then we'll bring somebody. We'll take 20 minutes." I know it's a sort of ridiculous scenario, but that could be something if they've got the Antoine Dupont, and you're like, "Well, I'll take him out."
Yeah,
spanner in the works.
But then. You do that though, it'd be pretty obvious to know if that's when you differentiate. That's when the ref makes his judgment there and he reds him or not. That's what the referee's decision.
If it's malicious, if it's malicious,
and if we've got goons like in ice hockey and they're going around trying to club the best player on the field, then you red card.
Yeah. Close line.
If it's something like that, I just believe the orange card works because you can tell you punish the player, you've maintained the integrity of the sport by keeping it safe.
Quick word on Clive Woodward absolutely ripping into Eddie Jones, actually saying he called it his pathetic macho comments ahead of the game are to blame for Charlie Ewell's red card.
Oh, that's dilute.
They've got some feud going. I wouldn't.
There's something going on there. Yeah, it's personal. It's got weird. Yeah.
Whenever anything goes wrong, he loves to chuck something out there, doesn't he? He loves to go at Eddie.
Yeah. Jamie, you and Clive Woodward had a bit of a weird relationship when he somehow refused to pick you for the 2003 World Cup squad, despite kind of playing all the games building up to it. And then he didn't pick you in 2005 when you were clearly one of the most informed players that you got. Is he a hard man to get on with? Have you got some insight into him?
I don't know. I mean, he's difficult to read, definitely difficult to read. Obviously, I'm not the one to speak to about that because I've come on the wrong side of it a couple of times. It's I think he's got his views, he's got his opinion, he's got his go-tos, his likes. He look, leading up to 2003, the side didn't change too much. They brought in a couple of guys likes of Josh Lucy, Jason Robinson, who are world beaters, so it was inevitable that those guys were going to be involved. Lewis Moody as well. These guys were phenomenal, but predominantly they kept with the same side. He was not. I suppose Eddie's a little bit like that as well. He kind of likes who he likes. He goes with something and he sticks and he gives them an opportunity to have a go at it. And I think it's quite good in that sense. Because as a player, you don't really want to go into a game thinking, well, I've got to be awesome, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, otherwise I'm on my ear the next game. So an element of consistencies and confidence, I suppose, going into games is a good thing. I think selection's really tough. We've all got an opinion on every single thing and person that happens in a game, and we have our likes and dislikes. But fundamentally, him and his coaches are the ones that are choosing the side, so you have to back it. And if he's choosing a side to play in a style that he wants, that we maybe don't know about as well, then that's how he gets around selection. Maybe with Clive, my style of play wasn't what he was looking for.
But he was picking you, though.
Well, yeah, for a bit. But no, I don't know, to be honest. I never had that conversation with him. We had a conversation where I was told I wasn't involved. I'm on the list, and if there's any issues, then I'll be brought out and stuff. And thanks for the effort, etc. But that was kind of it. And I didn't really get to the bottom of it. Obviously, they were too busy having won the World Cup, celebrating and stuff like that, for me to sit down with him and say, "Mate, why didn't I get the nod? Give us a chance from your bone," So. I didn't get that chance, unfortunately.
Did he do anything sorry, go on, Max, go on.
I was going to ask, has he changed much publicly to you since the sort of times as a pundit to how he coached?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, he's obviously a little bit more experienced in that. I think he's been in and around for a long time. He's done quite a lot. He was involved with the Olympics. He's involved with Southampton. He's been involved in lots of different things, but I think he's very similar. He's got his view on it, and he's always liked to have his spin on things, whether it is directly his thing or whether it's he does like to keep bringing up stuff back in the day. And I think sometimes you need to turn the page. Players that I work with now or speak to now, they don't want to hear some old geezers how we approach things. If there is something they can take. But I think if you keep harping on all the time about the same stuff in 2003, I think it gets a bit boring.
Let's just quickly round things off on a couple of words on England, obviously playing France, as we said, this weekend. Quick one for Stephen Jones, had a rugby writer at the Times, writing that even if the match was 15 aside, England had nothing in attack, which resembled troubling Ireland. Under Jones, they're still stuck in grinding reverse gear. Jamie, what have you made of England under Eddie since the World Cup final?
It's difficult. I mean, everyone talks about a transition. Everybody talks about blooding new players with the view that obviously the World Cup's literally around the corner now. So there's some great players in there. I think it's easy for me or for us to sit on the fence and chuck stuff out sometimes. And when you're in there and you're in the mix, it's hard to hear a lot of these things, especially obviously ex-players talking rubbish. But my big thing would be that what's frustrating is that these guys are doing, week to week, are doing fantastic things. They are there on merit. They are able to create things, and the rugby we're seeing in the Premiership levels is really good. Is an attacking form of the game, and is obviously it's not international level. It's a different level, and obviously the effort is the same. The effort that's gone into it is the same. It's just we've not got the same results, unfortunately, at the moment. But it just feels like the players that we have in there is fine for me. I like the balance with Joe in there now in the centres. That was one thing against Wales. I felt maybe we got that wrong. I think we went for two similar players and we lacked a little bit more power. Obviously everybody's talking about Manu being there, but the reason why, he's important to the side is because he gives you crazy go forward, and on the back of that, you can get your forwards around the corner and punching holes. If you play side to side, and I think that's what Wales did a bit against France. They played side to side and it looked good and they moved the ball, but they didn't really offer anything. And the French were sort of quite smart. They're quite clever. They didn't, they just waited. They waited for the opportunity and then nicked the ball in the ruck, So my concern moving forward is that we need good balance. We need guys who can punch holes. We need guys who can read the players that punch the holes, therefore give them an opportunity to do that. Fix the defenders as well so that we can go round them as and when. But try and just squeeze a little bit more from these guys, and get them doing what they do naturally in their clubs, and obviously the style that we play and the game plan's different, but try and sort of sit down with them and figure out what's going to make them tick, where their strengths lie, and try and do that, a little bit more often, I think.
You've managed to witness this transformation of the French side from the inside. Who do you think is responsible for the success that they're having now?
Well, there's a lot of factors in there. This season for me, one of the big differences and the scary difference. Everybody, has talked about France and their French flair, and they've always had that tag for years and years. And like I said, they've got some big old units in there. Fitness wise, they've not necessarily been that flash. They're sort of, and I've been privy to it over here, their sort of diet, nutrition stuff isn't quite the same or as everybody else in the world. The croissant, the pain au chocolat, whatever. But I think the scary thing is this year they're so organized, they're structured, and they needed an element of structure. We know that in open play, when teams are in disarray, they've got individuals that can create things, and they've always been able to do phenomenal things in there, but they've lacked an element of structure to win games, and have that consistency. I think they've got that there. Their fitness is phenomenal. They're winning and they're coming back into games. They obviously, the Ireland game, they had a little bit of a blip in the beginning of the second half, but then came back with real power and won that. They've got real youth in there. They've got individuals that have won the World Cup. They've been successful at their clubs. They've a lot of, like to say, the Toulouse guys did the double last year. So they're young guys, but they've got real experience, and I think that's dangerous. Sean Edwards has obviously made a massive difference because that's what he does. Wherever he's gone and wherever he's been, he does that. Their defense is good, is very, very good, and you have to do something out the ordinary to get past them, unfortunately. And you've got guys in there who are smashing blokes. William says is killing guys. Guys are hitting some awesome lines. You're like, oh, awesome line, and then Liam Williams gets boomed. It's like, oof. French sides are always capable of doing that, but they're doing that more regularly. And then they're nicking the ball. They're having that attention to detail to just, to be wise enough to not infringe on a corner, not do something stupid, not fly over the top, but they're getting their hands on it and causing sides real problems. I think, they're a side going places for sure.
Is there a palpable interest? Can you feel it in the air in France supporting this team, or are they changing the landscape a little bit?
Yeah, I think there always is. The French people get behind their sides. They get, whether it's football, whether it's handball, whether it's rugby, they love it and they get behind their teams. But the fact that this is such an exciting team, they play in a manner that is, you want to watch them and you want to see how they go, and you want to see Dupont running his inside lines and scoring tries. You want to see Damien Traille taking people on the outside, chipping and chasing. You want to see all these things. You want to see the forwards at scrum time taking sides on, because they're very proud of that. And I think because obviously the World Cup is in France and it's around the corner, it's building, and the excitement is definitely palpable. And you know, the French, if the French can overcome England on the weekend, I mean, it's going to be massive. It's going to be massive. Hopefully it will snowball, and they'll keep progressing, and you know, we're going to have a really good tournament in the World Cup.
Let's just move on now to very quickly to the Wales-Italy game, and that there's potentially the wooden spoon match. How do we see that one panning out, Rye?
You can't see Wales losing that, can you? Like, no matter how Italy came back a little bit towards the end of that game, they've been poor, really poor, and I think Wales have got to make a bit of a statement. So I'm going 30 points to 10 for Wales, sadly.
Max?
Yeah, I reckon 32 to 15. I think the Italians have got their tails up now, and there'll be a bit more in there.
I think what we talked about a little bit before, I think because it's the last game, I think it's going to, you know, they're starting to get a little bit tired. You know, in the second half against Scotland, it opened up a little bit more. There was gaps everywhere. I think Italy will fall away a little bit, and I think Wales will be buoyed by last week's performance. Obviously, an element of pressure because it's Italy. They want to play well, and I think they'll have a, you know, runaway victory. To be honest, I think they'll put 20, 25, 30 points on Italy, I think.
Brilliant. Now we're going to move on to the ASX section. And just a quick reminder of, obviously, we've got ASX Super Rugby as well, which is available now. So download the app. It's totally free. Get in on the Six Nations action, and you can go up against Ryan and Max. Max, last week, your stand-ins, Freddie Burns and Ollie Lawrence took your place, choosing 3 players for the big match. We had Burn, Marcus Smith, and Freddie Stewart. Not necessarily the best choices you only managed to make.
No.
Yeah. Oh, right. You, in hindsight, you're really good.
I am actually. I was leading up until then, so I must have some kind of talent for this thing.
You are actually continue to be leading.
Yes, you are.
You made some money, whereas Ryan, sadly, is approaching the 3 liters of milk at an alarming pace. Jamie, this is unfortunately, it looks like Ryan's going to have to do the Gloucester milk challenge. Whoever loses this, our ASX section, and Ryan just can't seem to buy himself a win.
I've got my 3.
I'm losing it on purpose because I want to do the milk challenge just to prove how easy it is.
Fine, but I've got my 3. I'm ready. So I'll go with. So we're going for French and English boys, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think Laws is going to be up to it, to his waist. He's going to be fighting and absolutely brawling with the French. So I'm going with Courtney Laws as 1. Then Cyril Bai, probably the loose head of the tournament. Very busybody. And to finish, I'm going with another Frenchman, his compatriot in the front row, Julien Marchand, an absolute turnover machine.
What a safe way to go. Just pick all the players I was going to pick, and then you know you win.
Yeah, I just was like this.
I knew I shouldn't have told you at the beginning of the show.
Oh, drat. Yeah, before we recorded. Yeah.
So, okay, Jamie, you can give me a hand. It's in that I'm going to lose it anyway. Who's been terrible but is going to have a good game?
Well, what about, surely Entamax went down last week. He's going to go better surely this week. What about Gregory Alderete? He's
solid.
But I think he'd be quite high.
I've picked him loads and I always seem to lose. I don't understand. I always pick back rowers because I think they get through so much graft as well, but they never seem to get me any points.
What about Joe Dante? Dante's
he's good.
He's always good for a break. He's good for a decent pass.
Turnover.
He'll nick on the floor.
Right. And then I was going to go Marchand, but I'm worried that if I don't go completely out there, then
what about Willemse?
Yeah, again, a man I always choose, but just doesn't seem to get me any points. I did have Villiers. Villiers or Chaminade, which one?
Or in fact, is Damien Penaud fit or not?
He's still got the old COVID, hasn't he?
Well, how long did he have COVID for?
He's had it for 2.
Big Gale.
What Fiku?
Yeah, he's average. I find him a bit.
Max, are you looking at something there? How are you on like the stocks and shares thing?
I make sure I have a look at my men before.
How? Because when I go
Because
on
the
the
Six
app, right?
Nations the Six Nation website runs a very thorough database on all their comings and goings in the games.
Ah, yes, smart.
Woof woof.
Right, so we've got Dante, Entomac. I'm going to go Villiers again. I love him. I just think he's awesome, just because I like him.
He is great. And the story is just sensational.
Yeah. So there we are. Entomac, Dante, and Villiers. Merci beaucoup.
Fabs. Right, let's quickly go for the Six Nations Team of the Week. Jamie, can you give us your back selection, please?
So I went with Ali Price, the match performance. Dan Bigger, I thought he controlled the game pretty well from his standpoint. James Lowe, bagged a couple. Jonathan Dante, Chris Harris.
Yeah, he was very good one again. Couple tries back.
He's good in D as well. You know, he's very organised. He reads it pretty well, to be fair. Went for Ange Capuoso.
Yeah, bless his little Draculan soul.
Yeah. Deceptively strong for like a 12-year-old boy.
71 kilos, we're saying.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, those stats always wrong, bro.
But he's like bumping people for tries. How do you?
Yeah, he was look monstrous.
Can't get hold of him.
Yeah.
Can't get hold of him when you're tired and you're trying to scramble after him. Nightmare.
Well, you look like him. You're deceived, aren't you? You're like this. Look at this little boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna line this bad boy up, and then he puts feet on.
See ya.
Yeah, gutted. And then I went with the Irish fullback Hugo on debut and stuff. You know, why not?
All right, fellas, forwards, please.
What are you thinking? Yeah, I reckon Lou said, even though they were part of the losing side, I think Ellis Genge put Tyg Furlong on rollerblades. We got to put him in there. We got to put him in.
I Genge as well. Marchand for me at hookup.
Marchand. Even though a lot of what happened to Tyg was down to Jamie George, but we'll go Marchand for the Atlas. And then at tight end.
Sorry, just on that, Jamie George. Did you see that video that Joe Marler put up of him singing in the shower?
No, it's in class.
Oh my God, it is unbelievable. He's belting out Adele in the shower, and Joe Marler goes all upstairs.
He's recorded it. He's a good man.
Not only does he stand next to the shower for an extra like 10 to 15 seconds whilst he's giving it some, he goes around the corner and that Jamie George's face, and he's just knows, it's going to go viral.
Bloke.
Bless him. But yeah, so we're going Marchand,
tight end.
I've gone Antonio. It's just because the big man got.
Yeah, we haven't put him in yet as well, and he's been classed as Six Nations. All right, put him in, and then 4 and 5. I'm saying
Itoje is one of mine.
I think we got to put Itoje in there. He's been very good.
But again, it's just because when they got that, when they obviously went down that one number, he just then ended up doing everything.
Yeah, he was very good. And then I think we put Rollins in. I wanted to put Willemse in there, but we're used to such high standards from that man. I just feel like he was like still rolling people, but not quite as rolling as many times as usual.
Not quite as rolling as Rollins.
Yeah, not quite as rolling as Rollins. Good try.
Right, we've got 3 people left to put in there.
We've got to put Doris in. He's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, Doris, happy with that. I thought, obviously my favourite person on earth, Rory Darge, but Watson was brilliant. So out of those two, I'd stick Hamish Watson in there, if you don't mind.
We could put Faletau at 6, couldn't we? That's allowed.
Yeah, of course. There you are. Faletau, Doris and Watson in the back row.
Because he returned to mad form in that game.
Yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Good.
Good stuff, fellas. Right, let's actually crack into a bit more from your career, Jamie. You weren't picked to play county rugby and actually had to rely on a letter from a teacher of yours to get your professional career started. Tell us more about that.
I suppose you got to do what you can, don't you? I suppose worked out okay in the end. No, I
did it come from the teacher or did you write it yourself?
Yeah. My mum and dad signed it for me. No, when I was at school, I was a back rower, and so I was obviously very small. And all these trials I went to and stuff, they just said, look, you've got no future in the game. You're too small. So I never progressed, never went through, which was frustrating. In the teams that I played in these trial games, we always won and we went well. And then one year I tried, I went as a 9. I tried as a 9 and didn't get in. Partly because I didn't pass it a massive amount, just sort of got the old head down and went for it. And then, so it was kind of like my last year at school, and my teacher was like, look, this guy's got something. We feel like he's got something. I was pretty good at athletics. I was pretty good at football. I did lots of different sports. And so they kind of just wanted me to have a chance, a bit more of a shot. So Newcastle were at the top of the league at the time, and so they contacted them, and I ended up having a trial with them. And to be fair, the recruiter was foresighted in the sense that he said, look, I think I played in the game. I played a bit of 9, bit of 10, and he said, look, would you be okay to come and play centre? And I was like, mate, I'll play anywhere you want. Just let me come. So they sort of said, look, yeah, we think you'd make a good centre. You've got, good skills. He actually said, and this is where I thought he maybe watched the wrong person. He said, look, yeah, you can kick off both feet. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be kicking a massive amount, mate, if I'm honest. So that's how it all started. So I had to change my university and go through sort of the clearing to get up there, and went up there, and I kind of felt a little bit out of my league. These guys have all played county together. There's guys that played England together and been on the tours and stuff. And there was me who was there from the school nobody knew, from a tiny place, and also playing a position I'd never played before. So I was like totally lost initially. And also add to that, I didn't understand the language. The Geordies had a totally different language for me. And I was like, the first person I ever met was Mickey Ward, and couldn't understand a word he was saying. I was thinking, I've made a real error of judgment here coming to Newcastle. Awkward. But it worked out all right in the end. That first year, it was the year where they were playing like the Anglo-Welsh League, because the Welshies were sort of, I don't know, on a breakaway or something. So they had to play us in some games, and so some of these youngsters played, and I got a couple of games on the wing in those games. And then the end of that year was, in fact, my first time I got selected for anything was when I was with Newcastle, and I played for the England 21s on tour to Argentina that year, and then I played again the following year. And then the following year I got asked to. It was the World Cup year. I was very lucky, I think. So a lot of the guys were away, and I ended up playing on the wing, and then went okay, and then they put me into the centres, and then I just stuck around. They couldn't get rid of me, I think.
How tall are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Don't you start.
I thought you were like, I thought when you were playing, you were like about 5'11", almost 6 foot.
No, I'm 5'9.5", 5'10".
Oh, okay. So how heavy were you at your heaviest?
So I was about 90, 91, 92 kilos.
Oh, too small. Pish posh. That's enough.
No,
That's
but the thing was, I went to a school, we didn't have any real weights. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't
so
something we did. And then I went to Newcastle and I started doing some weights, and
just flew onto you.
Yeah, I was very good at sort of plyometrics. I was very good at body weight stuff, pull-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
I was quite good at that.
Yeah.
And so then added on top some weights and kind of sort of I enjoyed it, and I got stuck in and worked hard, I think. And I think because I had this imposter syndrome, I did work hard. I didn't rock up and think, yeah, sweet, I'm on this pathway, it's going to be all fine, all roses and stuff. I'd had a lot of ups and downs previous to that. So, and I was just trying to stay, I was just trying to convince them that, yeah, they've not made a mistake bringing me up.
Small chapter of your career was spent playing for England Sevens. Can you share with us how naughty things got out in Hong Kong? Wasn't there some sort of celebrity boozing on that tour as well?
Well, no, we had, there's always some friendly faces in Hong Kong, and yeah, it's we were the first side to win it, I think. England Sevens wasn't the same back then. It was very sort of amateur. We'd rock up and we'd meet the guys we're with, and we'd go for a couple of beers and stuff, and then obviously we'd travel all that way, and we'd have more beers on the flight, and we'd get there, and the training was really tough. It was a bit of a shock to the system, to be honest, and the heat and the temperature and the humidity was tough. But then after the games, you have 3 days of full on rugby, and we obviously when we won it, was awesome, like awesome feeling. Everybody was like nuts crazy, and John Major was hanging around as well, and obviously wanted a piece of the action, so came into the changing room, and it was like, oh my God, it's John Major, and I was still young, so I didn't really meet many famous people, and he was, for me, like someone I knew I'd seen on telly lots and lots of times. So we had a couple of beers and stuff. I think people were trying to sort of spray him with champagne, the classic, which he wasn't overly impressed with. But for some reason, he didn't decide to come out with us that evening, but maybe had a cocktail party to go to that ditched us.
Yeah, you played alongside a friend of the show, Ollie Phillips at Newcastle. He's a pretty loose dude. What's any crazy recollections you have of him?
Ollie Phillips, he's a man who manages to get to places I just don't know how he does. He's phenomenal. He'll chuck out a nickname for everyone, and somehow manages to blag himself onto round the world trips, commentary gigs at whatever. I mean, he's done very, very well from the game. He's a top fella. And I think he's a lot of people. Well, he knows a lot of people to start with, but a lot of people have a lot of good things to say about him. The one time we played, I think we played in this, European ashtray, and we were playing against a side that were sort of made up of builders and carpenters, and he ended up scoring like 4 tries, and it was a bit embarrassing, and the most embarrassing thing was actually him celebrating those 4 tries as if it was the World Cup final. And I was like, mate, come on, we're winning by 90 points. That's actually a little bit easy now. Let's just be humble, be humble, walk back, and no, but we've got to celebrate these. I'm like, no, mate, we don't. This is too much, and it's too easy for you. You're just running around the outside of them.
He came on here and told us that those 4 tries were against the All Blacks as well.
Of course he did. He knows how to tell a story.
Oh, that's for sure.
He does. Yeah.
2001, you made your debut for England on their tour to North America. What are your memories of the tour and the sort of celebrations, and any? There were some booze buddies apparently on that tour as well.
Now that, again, for me, everybody was away, so it was kind of like happy days. I managed to get on the tour, which was good for me, and then it was an absolutely fantastic tour. I think Clive was maybe miffed he didn't get the Lions job, so he sort of chucked everything at it. So we were like private jets everywhere. We were in awesome hotels. We were like spending time in Vancouver. We were off fishing. Boys were playing golf, and there's like bears on the walking across the fairways. It was, for me, that was one of the best tours, and we didn't have the same pressure. We didn't. Obviously, there was pressure to win and do well, but we were all young guys. There was a couple of guys who were, like regulars, but there wasn't too many regulars, and we just went and enjoyed it. It was awesome, and we just had a really good time. Everybody got stuck into the whole kind of the tourist sort of label, and we thrashed it as much as we could.
That's the best thing about summer tours, is a little bit more relaxed, aren't they? And boys get to go and have a good time over there and enjoy the things that the countries have to offer, rather than going to like World Cups and some of these serious ones. Summer tours, always the best things. I suppose it
depends where you're going. A summer tour to America, Canada is not quite the same as a summer tour to Australia or New Zealand. New Zealand's quite intense. If you go there as a tourist, then you're going to get spanked. So it's a slightly different approach.
Still managed to enjoy in Australia.
Good.
Doesn't really matter. But yeah, you're right. Canada and America, you're probably going to win. And there's plenty.
You should win. There's expectation to win, but like you say, you can just enjoy it. And there's lots of places. in this game as well with sevens and stuff, there's lots of times where we've been to these awesome places, but we haven't had a chance to explore it fully. You know, we maybe get one day off and then you're conscious that you've got a game in a couple of days. So you don't want to be on your feet too long. And so you don't necessarily get a chance to fully, you know, to do the full tourist sort of package that you should, or you go to these places. I've been to lots of places and the missus is like, well, what was that like? I was like, well, yeah, the hotel room was quite nice, and they had a decent sort of spa, and it's like,
breakfast
what about
was lovely.
What about the town? Like, I never really went to the town, stadium. We went to the stadium a couple of times, and that was all right, you know. So, but it's a shame, but it's one of those where I'd like to go back to some of these places and really, you know, do the full tourist thing.
Would
Coffee
you,
shop.
if you went back in time, would you be less professional about it and go, do you know what? Fuck standing tonight. I'm going to go out and have a little look and have a pint.
If I knew I was going to play,
Have a
then
few.
yes, yeah. And if I knew I wasn't going to be judged and therefore, you know, not selected as a result. Interestingly, that's something that I did when I came to France. So in England, I was quite anal, professional. I didn't drink. I didn't go out. We didn't even drink coffee. You know, at the time, wasn't allowed to drink coffee with England. You had coffee strategy come the weekend. The coffee scene wasn't the same back then. You know, you had instant coffee, maybe an Americano, but that was it. So we didn't really do too much coffees. And when I came to France, there's a coffee machine in the changing room. Boys are smashing 10 espressos. I'm like, is that okay? Can we do this? You know, like 3 days in, I had a coffee machine at home. Now, like, I absolutely love coffee.
20 Marlboro Lights.
Yeah, and like, yeah, when they're sort of taking tabs off of coaches, and that's fine. That's no drama. I'm like, whoa, guys, they know you smoke. Weird. And then drinking as well. You know, they'll occasionally have a glass of wine at lunch or on an evening, a beer and stuff. You know, and it was a bit like, sheesh, lads, what are you doing? You know, but I thought, well, try a different approach. I've done it my way up to here, and you know, fine, I know all about that. Let's try something different. You know, I had no sort of pressure for the England thing, so it wasn't quite the same. So I just went with it, and you know, we had I learned a couple of mistakes as well. You know, I had a couple of days where I went and had a couple of beers and this, that, and the other, and later night than usual, and I wasn't as effective on the weekend, say. But I was like, well, it's done now. I kind of know that my body reacts in that way, and maybe not to get into that fight pre-game. It's not the best idea.
All experiment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're not in it very long. We have a small window, so let's make the most of it. And if that is going on a trip or going and doing this and you know doing a bit of wine tasting in the week, whatever, just do it. You know.
What's the weirdest difference, Jamie, between England and France for you on the rugby side?
Sometimes some of the gym sessions are a bit strange. You know, like well, for me as well, because I had Blackie, a guy called Steve Black, who unfortunately passed away recently, for me, he was phenomenal because he was about getting the most out of each individual. And he didn't have a blanket session. He didn't have on paper, everyone's got to do, you know, sets of 6, then sets of 4, then sets of 2 or whatever. It wasn't that way. So you were on a bench press and you were on there until he said, get off. And then you kind of push your body and you knew you'd worked hard the next day. You know, you knew you'd sort of like given it your all. And in France, I've been to sessions and the guys are like just there for the social. They're chatting and stuff like that. They get on the bench and you can see that they can do a lot more, and they just do it and they're like, yeah. And that's it.
Fine,
like,
perfect for you, mate.
Right. The 1-2 skip a few approach. One of my favorites. No.
Oh, sounds like heaven to me. That sounds like heaven. I've heard a few stories. Like, did you try and do your extra fitness and get laughed at?
Well, we had an English fitness guy, so I did some extra stuff with him. Because the other thing is they're very aerobic orientated. So for me, I was a little bit explosive and anaerobic, and that was kind of was always my thought that that's my thing. And I worked really hard on that. And when I came to France, that our fitness guy was the French record holder for the marathon. So
Oh, no, that is not what you
You're
want to
in
hear when you
trouble.
turn
You
up.
don't
no,
need that.
so we did a lot of aerobic running, and that was really not my thing. So we even had on our recovery, we had to meet in a park after a game on the Sunday. We'd have to do what do you call it, 45 15s. So you'd run for 45 minutes, then walk for 15, and then run for 45. And so, you know, I was like there, like everyone's stinking. Everybody's, you know, some people just went straight there from the nightclub, you know, and it was like, well, I don't see how we're getting
Pulling
mass
this
amount
off.
from this.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of weeks as well, I was like, I'm better off just not coming because I'm not recovering. I don't feel like I'm actually recovering. We did a lot of, our sessions were really long. Like we'd do double days, 3 days a week, and we'd do three hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. And everybody's like, some of the quality wasn't very good. The intensity wasn't there, but it was just long, you know, you're on your feet all the time. And at first year, I felt like I didn't really recover. And I felt like I lost an element of, you know, sort of explosive power because I was just running.
Just
boys
dust.
and the forwards they can run and get around the corner, but whenever they had to do a burst, that was it. They're dead on their feet. They couldn't do anything, you know.
That's what, Richie Gray said he used to have to run on the back pitch when no one could see him because they would laugh at him when he did extra fitness to lose. So he said he had to try, if it was like a day off, he'd make sure no one was there because the boys used to come and take the mick out of him for doing extras.
They're definitely but mate, my ex-head of S&C is there now. They're definitely getting beasted now. He's old school, and he's the bloody headmaster.
Brilliant. Well, sadly, that is all the time we've got left for this week. A huge thank you to Ryan, a huge thank you to Max as well. And thanks, Jamie, for coming on. And do like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week.
Farewell, people. Cheers, Jamie. Good to have you on, mate.
Thanks so much, guys.
Jamie, thanks so much for coming on.
Cheers, mate.